Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, October 25th, 2018. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. We had quite the day yesterday where price pushed below the midpoints of the respective rejected days the previous session. Those breaks were significant and led to a major decline. Again, a big part of the reason why we put on some sell-side exposure and also some puts for the QQQ because of this move and the potential that it had to really break downward if it didn't hold. Now, there is support down below, but are we going to go much lower to find support? How much lower do we go? This break at 2700 fundamentally changes what's happening in the chart at the moment. And again, we've been basing it off of this key range all year long. And now that we've failed to hold that range and dropped all the way here, there was high odds that it should have bounced into this zone. It fell just shy by 4 points of reaching our target, and then it's taking 2700 offer. That is very bearish, and what that usually suggests is another push downward to retest recent lows. Does that take you to 26? Does it take you as low as 25, 29? Where is it? So again, this is a big time level here, 2700, 2703.75. If price pushes into that area and fails to find acceptance above that zone, either next day or 2 or 3, even into next month, right? Because here's the pivot range. And if it can't find acceptance, there could be another wave coming. Another wave coming. Again, this is not the typical pullback that we've seen lately. It has been failing to find really good strong lows, and when it does that, it has to auction much lower. And again, we're not that far away from the year's lows. We could certainly see a flush of these lows in mere days if it really wanted to. We've seen it happen before. We've seen this happen in 1 day. In 2 days it took that entire range. That's the same distance from here to here. So again, it could happen very quickly, and a failure to get back above 2703.75 would suggest that we could continue to bounce lower into those lows or drop into those lows to see if we find a bounce. Now here's a look at the NQ. NQ, very similar price action. This one broke below 7K in that 7200 level we were talking about before. Right here, we knew that if price couldn't get above that level earlier in the week, then it could be another retest of the recent lows. Again, put on QQQ puts right here for a shot down, and it's been a nice move so far into the lows. Obviously, we are retesting the low. We got to find support in this area. Can it find support and bounce back up towards 74? Even if we do, I think we could get right back down. Again, I mentioned that before on this bounce. So right here, I'm going to be watching 7K very closely. If price cannot reestablish back above 7K or 70.50, that zone, then again we could see another tumble lower. If you look right here, this is the breakout point. That's the FOMC key level from May 2nd, and that's right there in that vicinity of 6660s. So again, that's a good target to look at if price were to continue headed lower. So let me get that exact level. It is 6686. So 6686 half. That could be a very quick target to reach on the next push down. Again, if price fails to get above 7K or 70.50, we could see another tumble down into those targets below, 66.50 to 66.80. Alright, let's take a look now at the YM. We talked about the YM and needing to hold 25K, and if not, it could open up another 1,000-point drop into 24K. And again, failing to hold the 24,886 is very important. Spending an entire day trading at these lows but not going lower, could lead to a little bit of a counterfeit bounce, right? Boom. But given the downtrending nature, given how we really haven't found a strong low yet, I think that could lead to another round of weakness, especially if price cannot reestablish back above 25K soon. So we could pop above it, but if it cannot stay above 25K, then 24 and maybe even a little lower could be seen ahead. So This again does not look like a normal pullback. We haven't found great strong lows. We found a serviceable enough low to get us a little bit of a bounce, but again, a lot of these bounced just shy of their targets. The NQ was one of the few that did hit their target, and now we're headed lower again. You see a lower value relationship, you see higher value. This structurally has changed, and so again, that could easily mean a move all the way back to the lower edge of the range, which would be 23K. So we may not be done even if we hit 24. So theoretically speaking, we can go all the way back down to here. And if we do, the good news is we are still in a larger range-bound market after a great uptrending move. If we did come down here below 23K, it would still be a great opportunity to buy it and look to return it back up toward 2650. So again, if we did drop that low, that would be a buy with both hands type of opportunity, at least on a first try. All right, let's take a look now at crude oil. You see here crude has gotten right down toward the lower channel, lower boundary of that channel that we were talking about. We've been talking about this channel here and this upper range here, however you like to draw that. And I mentioned if we can get between 66 and 67, that could be a spot where we start to find some support. And then we could eventually see a move that leads this thing back towards 77. And so that's the primary idea right now. Despite the major sell-off we've seen, I think we can bounce right back up. We've proven to do it many times off this line. But it's not always easy. So you can see here this was a 2-week affair here before it did this. Over here, you know, it needed several fits and starts before it got going. This was a fairly quick move, but again, didn't start very convincingly. This was not convincing at all, actually. It had one strong day. So we'll see how this plays out again, but I think this is the right spot. You see an LVN, it's the lower boundary of the channel here. Again, it has a great opportunity to see this thing go right back up at some point, but we got to find a strong low. Have we found it right here? Maybe we could have, but again, there could be several days of development before we start to see a turnaround. Acceptance above and through that 68 would spark quite the move up, so we'll keep an eye on that level. Let's take a look at gold. You can see right here gold ran into the 1240 key level and has not been able to push through it. Baby steps for gold so far. Good news is it hasn't full-on rejected away from that level, but given this level and how strong it is, at some point it's going to need to push through it to continue. But price continues to hold the 1180s, right? That was the absorption level. It continues to hold the pivot low, continues to hold the breakout point of 1220. It's passed every test. Now again, I mentioned before that if it were to push down pretty strong and then get a rejection day, that could be what really springboards this thing through the 1240 and much higher. So maybe if this thing is getting a little tight here and a little sluggish, it may need to pull back, shake out some weak hands, and then start anew to the upside. But I think right now this thing is doing just enough to remain bullish, and again, until proven otherwise, right now it's still pushing higher. So got to continue to watch the 1220s for signs of a test. All right, let's take a look here at, lastly, ZB. Now ZB, we talked about this one here recently. We mentioned the rejection tail that was developing here. And then you have the 139.14s, previous month's low here. And I mentioned finally we have enough of market participation in this area, enough trading in this zone to lead to a potential squeeze higher. We could certainly squeeze higher now above 139.14. At the moment, everything has been bearish for this one for the most part, especially long term. So I still have a bearish outlook on it for the most part. But I mentioned if it can start to get through the 139.14s, this could lead to quite a bounce. It could get back toward the 145.29s on the high end, but that might take a better part of several weeks. Very quickly, it could get probably to 142s. if you really wanted to get above the 139. So again, that's the zone to watch here. We talked about it here recently, and again, you can see price closing through the rejection day mid, and then here now we're retesting on a pullback. This could be the optimal opportunity for a near-term squeeze if it wanted to. So again, keeping an eye on this area to see if we are going to fail to hold below the 139.14s. All right, that is it for now. Let's see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck and trade well. See you in the trading room.